You know what finally made me rethink everything I thought I knew about garden layout? I was standing in my backyard a few summers ago looking at my raised beds. Nice, neat, tidy rows with walking paths between everything, and I felt pretty good about it. Then I walked over to visit an Amish neighbor about a quarter mile down the road. His garden was maybe half the size of mine, maybe less. And I am not exaggerating when I tell you he was pulling more food out of that plot than I was getting out of my entire setup. Tomatoes, beans, squash, herbs, root vegetables, all of it, packed into this space that would have made most gardeners claustrophobic. I stood there staring at it and thought, what am I doing wrong? Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how Amish families in Lancaster County grow more food in less space, and how you can start applying these methods in your own backyard, whether you've got a quarter acre or just a few raised beds. And stick around to the end because I'll share a simple planting technique I learned from an Amish grandmother that helps her get a full extra harvest out of the same patch of soil every single year. So here's my confession. For about the first 15 years of my gardening life, I followed the standard advice. Rows spaced 18 inches apart, walking paths between every bed, neat, clean, easy to manage, and honestly, it worked fine. I grew decent food, but I was using a lot of ground to do it, and I never really questioned that until I started spending time with Amish and Mennonite families here in Lancaster County. What I started to notice is that their gardens don't look anything like the diagrams you see in most gardening books. They're dense, they're layered, and they're incredibly productive. The philosophy behind it comes down to something the Amish call stewardship. You take care of the land you've been given and you don't waste any of it. That means every square foot of soil has a job. Nothing sits idle, and here's where the science backs them up. Your researchers at Penn State and Rodale Institute have studied intensive planting methods for decades, and the data consistently shows that well-managed dense plantings can produce 3 to 4 times more food per square foot than conventional row gardening. The Amish figured that out long before the studies confirmed it, yet they just did it by paying attention. The first thing Amish gardeners understand, and this is foundational to everything else, is that wide rows and walking paths are wasted space. Most of us learn to plant in single rows with gaps between them so we can walk through and weed. An Amish friend of mine put it to me this way one afternoon. He said, "Paul, you're growing more pathways than food." And he was right. When I measured my old layout, almost 40% of my garden space was just walkways. What Amish families do instead is plant in wide, dense bands, usually 16 to 24 inches across, with narrow access paths of just 8 to 10 inches between them. Enough room to reach in and harvest, but nothing more. If you're in zones 6 or 7, this is especially important because your growing season is limited enough that you can't afford to waste space on soil that's not producing. The key is that soil in those dense bands needs to be deeply worked and heavily amended. I'm talking 6 to 8 inches of good compost worked into the top 12 inches of soil before you plant. The Amish don't skip that step. They know dense planting demands rich soil, and they feed the soil first every single time. Now here's where things really start to look different from a conventional garden. The second principle is vertical growing, and the Amish take this further than most people realize. I watched an Amish neighbor in Lancaster County build what he called a bean wall. Just a simple frame made from rough-cut lumber and twine, about 7 feet tall, running along the north side of his garden. He grew pole beans, cucumbers, and small variety squash, all climbing up that wall. The ground beneath it? He planted lettuce and spinach in the shade the wall created. That one structure turned a flat 8 by 4 foot area into what was effectively 20+ square feet of growing space. And the shade from the climbing plants actually extended his cool season crop production by 2 to 3 weeks into early summer. For those of you in zones 8 and 9 where heat comes fast, that shade trick alone can be worth the effort. You can keep lettuce and cilantro going well past the point they'd normally bolt. I started doing this 3 years ago, and I'll be honest with you, I kicked myself for not learning it sooner. This next piece is one that I completely overlooked for most of my gardening life, and it's succession planting. Most home gardeners, myself included for years, plant everything at once in the spring, harvest it, and then the bed sits empty. Amish families don't let soil sit empty. The moment one crop comes out, the next one goes in. They plan their garden in waves. Early spring is peas, radishes, and greens. As soon as those come out in late spring, in go the beans, tomatoes, and peppers. When the summer crops finish, fall brassicas and root vegetables take their place. In zones 3 through 5, you've got a tighter window, so Succession planting means starting your fall crops indoors 3 to 4 weeks before your summer crops come out, so transplants are ready to go into the ground the same week. I learned this from a Mennonite family in northern Lancaster County who kept a handwritten planting calendar on their kitchen wall. Every bed had 3 plantings mapped out for the season. It was simple, it was methodical, and it meant they were pulling food out of the same soil from April through November. I'll be honest with you about something here. When I first tried to pack my garden tighter, my results were mixed. You see, I was cramming plants in without upgrading my soil or thinking about how the plants actually interact with each other. And that's where the Amish approach really comes together. Companion planting. This isn't just about putting basil next to tomatoes because a book told you to. Amish gardeners think about it in terms of layers and function. Tall plants provide shade and structure. Medium plants fill the middle canopy. Low-growing plants cover the soil and suppress weeds. I watched one family grow corn, beans, and squash together, the old Three Sisters method. And they interplanted nasturtiums and marigolds along the edges. The corn gave the beans something to climb. The squash shaded the soil and held moisture. The nasturtiums pulled aphids away from the beans. Everything had a role, and this is where you start to see how it all connects. This isn't a standalone trick. It's one piece of a system, and the system is what makes the difference. Dense planting works because the soil is deeply composted. Companion planting works because the layout is planned so every plant supports the one next to it. Succession planting works because the soil stays alive and active all season. If you're picking up what I'm putting down and you want more of these deep dives into how Amish families approach the garden, hit subscribe. I've got a lot more of these coming. Now let me show you the next piece. The last major principle is what I'd call edge growing, and it's one of the most overlooked techniques I've seen. Amish gardens use every boundary. Fences, walls, shed sides, even the edges of driveways. Anywhere there's a vertical surface or a border, something is growing. I've seen grapevines trained along fence lines, herbs tucked into the strip between a walkway and a building foundation, and strawberries growing in stacked wooden frames against a south-facing barn wall. A Mennonite friend of mine grows nearly 30 pounds of tomatoes each summer on a trellis system attached to the south side of his tool shed, space that would otherwise just be bare siding collecting heat. For those of you in zones 6 through 8, south-facing walls are gold. They absorb heat during the day and radiate it back at night, giving plants in that microclimate a boost that can extend your season by 2 to 3 weeks on both ends. I started using my fence line for beans and cucumbers 2 years ago, and that alone added probably 15 to 20 square feet of productive growing space to my garden without touching my main beds. Now, let me be straight with you about some patterns I've noticed, things I did myself for years, so no judgment here. The first pattern is designing your garden for looks instead of production. I'm guilty of this. I wanted neat rows and tidy paths because it looked like a real garden, but appearance doesn't feed you. Amish gardens look chaotic to the untrained eye, but every plant is placed with purpose. The second pattern is thinking of garden space as only horizontal. If you're not growing vertically, you're leaving half your potential production on the table. The third pattern, and this is a big one, is treating each crop as a standalone project. You plant tomatoes here, beans there, herbs in a separate bed, and none of them are working together. The Amish approach connects every plant into a system where each one supports the others. Shade, structure, pest control, soil coverage, pollination, it all interlocks. And the fourth pattern is letting beds sit empty between seasons. Every week your soil sits bare is a week it's not feeding you, and a week it's losing moisture, nutrients, and microbial activity. Realistic first-year expectations here: if you shift to dense, intensive planting with good soil prep, you can expect a 30 to 50% increase in yield from the same square footage in your first year. That's still significant. Improve your technique each year. Better succession timing, smarter companion pairings, deeper compost, and those numbers climb. But I'd rather you start with honest expectations and be pleasantly surprised. Now, here's something I picked up from an Amish grandmother that I haven't seen mentioned in any gardening guide I've ever read. On she called it tucking, after her main crops were in the ground and established, usually about 3 to 4 weeks after transplanting. She'd go through the garden and tuck small, fast-growing crops into every gap she could find. Radishes between tomato cages, lettuce under bean trellises, green onions along the edges of squash hills. She used a short piece of dowel, maybe 6 inches long, to poke a quick hole, drop in a seed or a small transplant, press the soil down, and move on. She told me she could tuck an entire garden in about 20 minutes. Those tucked crops didn't compete with the main plants because they matured fast and came out before the main crops needed the space. She said it added another 10 to 15% to her total harvest each season, and all it cost was a handful of seeds and 20 minutes of her time. I started tucking 3 seasons ago, and she was right. It's almost embarrassingly simple, but it works because it's built on the same principle as everything else. No wasted space, no wasted soil, no wasted time. That's what I've learned from Amish gardeners about growing more food in less space. It's not about working harder or buying more equipment. It's about thinking differently. Dense planting, vertical growing, succession waves, companion systems, edge spaces, and filling every gap. If any of this changed how you think about your garden layout, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Tell me what your biggest space challenge is, and I'll do my best to help. Hit subscribe if you want more of these deep dives into how traditional communities grow food with methods that have worked for generations. Thanks for spending time with me today. I'll see you in the next one.